How's it going, everybody? It's the John Low Fox here, and it's my channel where I talk about anime, video games, cartoons. And today, this is going to be my long overdue 700 plus turn 730 plus subscriber special, where I decided to kind of just do a draw my life, as you can see. Now, if you haven't noticed, I'm a bit of an artist, and I do some animations here and there. And since I think, guys are interested in knowing more about me, then I figured, what better way would there be to be making a cartoon about myself, So I decided, I'll do this little draw my life thing. Who knows, it might even turn into a little bit of a series where I talk a little bit of like some stories and all that, like a little bit of a story time, that kind of thing. So like kind of like an animated like version of Everybody Hates Chris, which I know that's a thing, but an animated version of Everybody Hates Chris starring me, basically, or me as the central protagonist. So let's get right into it. So just for the record, I'm covering my elementary school years briefly in this video. So pretty much a little bit of my birth from like 1989 all the way up until like at least like 2010, which was like my 5th grade year. So that was probably like the last time I was ever in elementary school. That's what I'll be covering. And no, I was not bald throughout the years. That's just how I choose to depict my avatar self back when I was younger, where I had a little bit of a low fade sometimes because my mom would always be getting my hair cut. Talk about it another time. Or I would usually have like a little bit of a fro here and there. But yeah, those are kind of like just the two hairstyles I had back then. But this is just how I'm going to just depict my avatar. And then I'll go into more of the years, kind of showing you like which age and all that and blah, blah, blah. But yeah. But anyways, so basically I have two parents, an older half brother, an older half sister. But I grew up mostly with my mom and my stepdad. Later on, I always had a talent for like drawing that I inherited from my dad's side of the family, since my aunts and uncles and some of my cousins also had it as well, and kind of skipped a little bit of my dad and my brother and my sister generation to me, so that's always something. And then growing up in the 2000s, I was influenced by a lot of superheroes, video games, and anime. I was a part of some extracurricular after-school programs like martial arts, where I made it as far as the yellow belt from kindergarten and 1st grade, and then 5th grade later on. As far as sports goes, I used to have an interest in basketball and baseball, unless I was the one playing, not just watching it on TV or something. So like, games like 2K and Madden just never really interest me, because like I understand the whole appeal of playing as your favorite player and all that, but it's just like for me personally, it just drags on too long, and I just never really had much of an interest in that kind of thing. But that's just me. And I also used to bowl a little bit because my stepdad, he got me and my mom both into it. So we'll spend our Sundays like practicing bowling and all that stuff, going tournaments and all that, instead of really going to church, which, we used to do on our regular routines until we just switched over to bowling, which I had no complaint there, because growing up, obviously, when you're a kid, you go to church, put on some suit that you probably don't want to wear, wake up early in the morning, and spend hours and hours at church until, you're like hungry and stuff and tired, and you're like, man, I can't wait until I get home and get some food or whatever, but get some breakfast, that kind of thing. I would have friends come and go over the years, since I would change schools every 2 years. Some friends from school, some friends from the neighborhood, some friends from aftercare, and so on and so forth, or even some family friends that was pretty close to my age. My relationship with my teachers varies, where I've had black teachers, white teachers, Hispanic teachers, Indian teachers, male teachers, female teachers, Muslim teachers, teachers I liked, teachers I didn't like, and so on and so forth. On the weekends, I would spend time over my Nana's house from like Friday to Saturday nights. Usually she allowed me to stay up late at night, where I would like watch Toonami, and we'll kind of go places like, volunteer at her church on like Saturdays to kind of help set up for like the service for the next day. As for my brother, he lived in Virginia, which is a different state from me and my, our sister. So I would see him or talk to him every once in a while. But I always admired him, and I still want to kind of aspire to be like him in some ways, pretty much, because that's my older brother. And for my sister, I used to kind of spend more time with her, since we were, in the same state and everything, and kind of not too far apart from each other, since our moms didn't really want us to kind of like grow apart later on in life and all that. Our sibling relationship was definitely comparable to the cartoon characters that I saw on TV, like Cow and Chicken, Yin and Yang, Dexter and Dee Dee, Static and his sister Sharon. That's kind of how I like to view us, or how I would summarize it, where we had that younger brother, older sister kind of dynamic or whatever. You know what I mean? But yeah. So sometimes I would definitely spend some weekends over her place and with her family and stuff every here and there. Well, when I was really, when I was younger and stuff, or when we were younger. But yeah. But then my sister, it kind of stopped after a while. And then my sister, she kind of got sick when I was in like at least fourth or fifth grade, possibly maybe earlier. Who knows? But don't worry, she's doing well despite being in she's been in a coma before, not being able to walk and talk at one point, and kind of nearly facing death. But I'm glad to still have her around though. I didn't really see her in person really for that amount of time until around I was like 14 was when I saw her again. But yeah, so yeah, so I didn't know she was going through all that, but I'm glad she definitely pulled through. As for my dad, he wasn't really around a lot either during certain periods where he kind of just straight up vanished off the face of the earth for a while. But I always respected him, and I always kind of applaud how my dad at least tried to reach out to me. So that's pretty much about my Draw My Life story, pretty much. So what'd you guys think? I hope I didn't share too much personal information, but that's just now you know a little bit more about me, and well, yeah. But anyways, this is the John Little Fox, and I'm out. Peace, and until we meet again.